The story begins on a quiet morning in a small, sunlit barbershop tucked away in a bustling city neighborhood. Marcus, a talented black barber with a heartwarming smile and a reputation for turning lives around, preps his tools for the day ahead. The shop is more than a place for haircuts, it's a sanctuary for the community, a haven of laughter, stories, and shared struggles. But today, the air feels heavy, and a storm brews just beyond the shop's threshold. As Marcus sharpens his clippers, the door swings open with a loud chime. A group of men strides in, 4 of them, leather jackets adorned with hateful insignias, their sneers loud and cutting. The leader, a wiry man with a cruel glint in his eyes, steps forward. "Didn't know this was a charity for people like you," he says, his voice dripping with venom. The room falls silent, tension thickening the air. Marcus meets their taunts with calm dignity, his hands steady as he continues working on a customer's haircut. But it's clear the gang isn't here for a haircut, they're here to provoke, to assert their dominance in a space they've never bothered to acknowledge before. Other customers exchange uneasy glances, some inching toward the door, unwilling to become collateral in what feels like an inevitable clash. Seated quietly in the corner is a man who's gone unnoticed, a scruffy, unassuming figure wearing tattered clothes and an old baseball cap pulled low over his face. His name is James, though few bother to ask. He comes in regularly, always paying in crumpled bills and offering a polite nod in place of conversation. Some in the neighborhood whisper that James was once homeless, a man who fell through society's cracks. The gang notices him now, and their leader smirks. "What's this? A charity for every loser off the street?" One of them jeers, his voice laced with mockery. "Guess you fit right in, huh, old man?" James doesn't respond, his head tilting slightly as he watches the scene unfold. The gang's leader steps closer to Marcus, knocking over a display of hair products with a loud crash. "This shop ain't worth the ground it's standing on," he growls. "You oughta pack up before someone makes you." Marcus clenches his jaw but remains composed. He glances at James, who meets his eyes with a calm, measured look. Something shifts in the air. James rises slowly, his movements deliberate. The room holds its breath. "Gentlemen," James begins, his voice steady but carrying an edge that commands attention. "You've had your fun. Now, I suggest you leave." The gang erupts in laughter, their leader stepping closer. "Or what? You gonna lecture us, old-timer?" James removes his cap, revealing sharp, piercing eyes that seem to see straight through the gang. He reaches into his coat pocket, and for a moment, the room tenses, uncertain of his next move. But instead of a weapon, he pulls out a gleaming gold pocket watch. Its intricate design catches the light, and the gang's laughter falters. "You see this?" James says, holding the watch up. "This belonged to my father, a man who taught me the value of patience and power. You assume because I look like nothing, I am nothing. But appearances can be deceiving." The gang scoffs, but there's unease in their expressions. James takes a step forward, his voice low and commanding. "I've been watching this neighborhood for years, investing in it piece by piece. What you're standing in isn't just a barbershop. It's part of an empire, a legacy you couldn't even begin to fathom." The leader sneers, but his bravado is wavering. "You're bluffing," he mutters, though his voice lacks conviction. James smiles faintly and reaches into his coat again, pulling out a sleek, black card with a prominent emblem. "Ever heard of Silverstone Holdings? I'm the CEO. So unless you're interested in explaining yourselves to my legal team or perhaps the authorities, you'd best reconsider your next move." The gang stares in stunned silence, the weight of James's words crashing down on them. The room feels electrified, every eye on the scruffy man who has revealed himself as a figure of immense power and influence. Before the gang can respond, James turns to Marcus. "You've built something beautiful here," he says warmly. "And no one is going to take it from you." The leader stammers an apology, retreating toward the door with his crew in tow. The barbershop erupts in applause as they leave, the tension dissolving into relief and awe. Marcus clasps James's hand, gratitude and respect shining in his eyes. As James replaces his cap and heads toward the door, Marcus calls out, why'd you stay quiet all this time? James pauses, a faint smile playing on his lips. Sometimes, people need to show you who they are before you decide how to respond. With that, he steps into the sunlight, leaving the barbershop buzzing with questions and admiration.